Okay, going to call to order the Board of Public Works meeting for March 7th, 2022. Herbst, Gometsky, and Liddell appears before us by Zoom. Wilburn is in chambers. I see there's no public appearances in chambers. Is there anyone on Zoom? I'm getting a negative on that. Is there a motion for approval of the February 21st, 2022 meeting minutes?
I so move we approve February 21, 2022 meetings.
Moved
Second.
by
Second that motion.
Wilburn, seconded by Herbst. Are there any changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Report from the department.
Hey. Let's see, we'll start out with staffing, I guess. We currently have 2 positions open in our streets department, one in parks, one in streets, for a maintenance labor position. So if you know anybody out there that would be interested in serving the city of Fitchburg, by all means, invite them to come on over. We're a great group of people to hang out with during the day, and we all pull for each other. So, you know, if you're looking for a good team to join up with, come on over. This past week, we also had a resignation in our engineering department from our stormwater engineer. Claudia has resigned, and we'll be moving on to Dane County. So we have that position that's out for an opening for a part-time stormwater engineer, as well as our full-time engineer, and our stormwater tech, who got promoted to the the GIS coordinator. That position is open as well. So we have a full plate of stormwater. If anybody wants to join up with that, that would be great as well. We do have interviews this Friday for the full-time stormwater engineers, so hopefully we can get that position filled pretty quick, but we're still looking for 2 more openings in that area. What else we got going on? The assistant DPW city engineer position is making its way through the personnel committee this week. So once that's approved, we can get that advertised out there for that opening as well. And we're remaining healthy. COVID hasn't come back in our area since we've had some outages a few weeks ago, but we're doing well there. We started an exercise of strategic planning for our department, where we're looking at in detail what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and then whether or not we should be doing it. And then from there, we're trying to come up with a right sizing and staff planning based on those priorities that we have from the community. And we'll be doing some outreach and things like that, getting input from the public. But right now, we're just trying to figure out what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how long it takes to get things done, to maybe look for some efficiencies that we can, take off the top. But, more long-term, how our department is going to be functioning into the future. Let's see, what else we got?
Bill, are you doing that all internally, or are you having any kind of external facilitator or helper on that?
No, it's all internal at this time. It's just basically we need to figure out get a good handle on what we're doing right now. I know there's companies out there, consultants that would provide that service, but right now it's just for my well-being as well to know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing things and where our needs are. So it's an exercise I've done before. It's been very helpful in determining the different staffing requirements that we would have, or resources, and how to reallocate those things. It's something that I'm going to be taking on, more in the next couple of years as I transition into that department level analysis. Okay. Well 11, had some, we'd pulled the casing pipe through there and taken a look at that. There's several of the pipes that have some microbial growth on them, which the technician that was out there saying that It has to do with the level of stagnant water that we have in the well. Our well the pumps are located at a depth of 200 feet, and the water level's at like 100 feet. So we've got about 100 feet of water in there that just kind of sits. And when it doesn't get flushed out or it doesn't get used as much, those microbes that are in there, they kind of feast on the iron and attack the joints, at the weakest point. And we may end up replacing that casing pipe through there right now. We haven't made that determination yet, but we're taking a little bit more look at it. I just wanted to give you an update that it looks like that might be the case, and to combat it, basically we would just have to run some water down there maybe once a month, to some chlorinated water to keep that stagnant water, kind of moving around down there so they don't accumulate in those areas and have that growth. So nothing to be worried about. It's just going to be an expensive fix if we need to move forward with, fixing those joints at the casing pipe. But the pump and the shaft are in good shape. So those were some major components that if we had to fix those, it would be very expensive. So more to come. We're still investigating on that. Yeah, that's pretty much what we got, other than, our typical development and engineering and all of that fun stuff that we're doing up there.
Well, thank you, Bill. The plow drivers did a good job today of clearing the streets, so give them a thank you from me at least.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Jim, could I ask a couple questions for Bill?
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry. Bill, what are the minimum requirements for the street and the parks? Do they need a CDL? Could some young guy that, is anxious to work, be trained? I'm sorry, I haven't read those job requests. I know people, but they don't have CDLs. I'm guessing that's a requirement.
Yes, currently we do require a CDL for the streets. We are looking at possibly waiving that for parks and then training. But the recent DOT qualifications or certification for CDL, you have to have a certified trainer perform the training for that and assess the driver. So that's a pretty expensive undertaking for the city, anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 to do that. But it's something that we're looking into possibly doing.
Okay. Second question, on the well, can we just set, I realize how much water's in the column. Can we set something so that, we're pumping so it's not stagnant, that we don't go more than a day, without that exchange of the water? Or is the chlorination, the only option?
No, there's a couple options that we could look at. We could raise the pump, but we don't really want to do that because we're going to be pumping into that zone at a higher volume coming up. So we don't want to change the height of that. We could look at the drawdown is what you're talking about. It would take quite a bit of water to draw that down around that column. I'm not sure how long we'd have to run the well to waste to be able to get that down.
Okay. All right. And then one that's just a comment. I applaud you for going through the redesign, evaluation of city. I used to do that in my Six Sigma days. I did quite a bit of that. Yeah. So I would just offer, if you'd want someone to sit in at one of your meetings to give you a little feedback, I'd be glad to do that. I'm not trying to tell you how to run the department. I certainly wouldn't, but if you were interested in an outside perspective as you went through one of those meetings, I'd be glad to sit in and give you my 2 cents worth. So that's all. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, seeing no other questions for Bill. Moving on to Agenda 5A, Resolution R-28-22, Purchase 2022 Ford Escape Hybrid. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Move to approve by Ladell. Second.
Second.
Seconded by Gometsky.
Great. There you go.
Bill, you want to explain this one? It
Sure.
seems to be straightforward.
Right. We're replacing a 2003 Ford pickup truck or Ford Explorer that the Recreation Department has used over the past few years. We went out, we had $29,500 budgeted for this, and through the state bid sourcing, we were able to acquire a Ford Escape Hybrid for $25,000, which is about $4,000 under budget. And we're asking for approval for this award.
Bill, what's the main function? You know, what would this truck, what would this be used for on a day-to-day basis?
This is used for staff to go between the different events, recreation in the summer, and the winter, you know, the different shelters, things like that. The program managers, if there's events out in the public, you know, just to and from that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. I think it's timely that you're going to get a hybrid right now. I looked up the gas mileage for that is 44 city, 37 highway. Your Ford Explorer got 15 in the city, 21 on the highway, and that was how many years ago? So I'm pretty sure it's not still at 15 and 21. So that is very timely.
And with the price of gas nowadays too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Moving on to agenda item 5B, resolution R-32-22, approving inclusive playground path work. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
second the
Resolution R
motion.
3222.
Moved by Liddell, seconded by Herbst. Are you going to go over this one, Bill?
No, Scott. Yeah, I guess I'll be doing that one as well. I'm going to share my screen here quick just to give you some reference. The Inclusive Playground is a project that the city is going forward with, and we purchased the equipment in a previous bid, and the location for the Inclusive Playground is off of the splash pad in the parking lot that's in McKee Farms Park. Essentially, what this project will involve was the path in black, and then a sidewalk that would ring around the playground. And we went out and we took bids for this project, and we had two bidders for the project. The low bid was to just a minute. Sorry about that.
South Central Contracting?
Yes, South Central Contracting was the low bid for this project at $41,435. So the first part of this resolution is asking for approval of the contract for that amount. And then there's also, as part of the resolution, a request for a budget amendment to fund the construction of the sidewalk and path. So the first part of the resolution is asking for a $50,000 transfer from the, I believe it's the it's Parkland dedication dollars. Yeah, Parkland dedication dollars from the Parkland dedication into this fund to fund the sidewalk and path improvements. And then there's also a third part to the resolution requesting another $75,000 if the council so approves for $75,000 to put the fencing around the Inclusive Playground. And I think Scott has told me that there's funds available to do this in the Parkland Dedication Fund to do this. And if you would rather opt out of this, to make that known at this time, if you would rather not have the city go forward with that, with the fence around the playground.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason for that wanting that fence? Are you afraid of vandalism there or something, or what's the scoop on that?
No, it's a split rail fence, and it's similar to the one that's around the splash pad at this time. So it would just tie it all together, keep the kids in a kind of a location, so they're not wandering around.
That's a pretty good chunk of money just for a split rail fence.
They're very expensive these days, yeah.
I guess it depends if we want to spend the money for it to match the other one, right?
Right.
What's
So
everybody
it's
else
more
think
for
about that?
aesthetic purposes.
Kim?
It's for aesthetic purposes then, not for security.
That's correct.
I'm not in favor of the fence, it's inclusive playground. It's not the type of thing where the kids would wander away, that would be there. So I have a hard time supporting spending that money for that fence.
Any other comments?
I guess I would agree with that, especially because I think pricing is really high right now, and it's not something that couldn't be added at a later date should we find the need for it and should costs come down.
I would add one more
Will you
thing.
lose that 75,000 if you don't do it now?
What was the question?
Would you lose that 75,000 if you didn't add it in now, or
No.
do you still have it sitting someplace if we decide to go through with it later on?
Yes, that is correct. If you do not do the transfer, it's still available to do the transfer in the future
Okay,
as a project.
I would add one thing, the parkland dedication, the alder that is the driver on this project is also the driver on the hub, and she's requesting, additional far more than initially requested. So I don't know how much parkland dedication there's gonna be left. I don't know. I don't think Scott's not online, is he, Bill?
No, he's not.
Okay.
He'd have to answer those questions, but I can forward
Yeah.
those to him.
I'm just not sure there's gonna be anything left in that fund.
Any other comments? Okay, Dave?
I guess there's three of us
So
don't
are
think we
we
ought to spend that
voting
money. Do you want to take it
First
out?
on taking out.
Hang on, Kim.
Okay.
There's three of us, Kim, there's you and Dave and I don't think we should spend that 75 now. Do you want to take it out of that resolution now, or what?
I guess I would like to take or move to pass the resolution without the $75,000 for the fencing.
Kim, why don't you make the motion? To
I'll make
amend
that motion.
So the motion is to remove the $75,000 for the fencing.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Well, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment passes. Okay, how about the resolution approval of inclusive playground path work? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, agenda item 5C, ordinance 2022-0-08, creating Chapter 10, Article 4, Division 3, Section 371, prohibition of naming of core city facilities.
I'll move approval.
Moved approval by Herbst. Any second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Wilburn. I can speak to this since it was introduced by me. The naming of buildings, as we look around the country, is something that, can be divisive in and of itself. No matter whose name is put up there, doesn't matter who it is, somebody's always going to have another reason to put somebody else's name based on their own criteria. So being that one, it's divisive, I think buildings should just remain the name of their function. The second part of this is that you start to take community out of the buildings when you just put a person's name on them, except for the community. when you look at Fitchburg and you look at the success of this city and people who live in this city, a lot of it is due to the citizens. And it's the citizens that sit on committees, commissions, that volunteer to do things. It even goes to the neighbors who, citizens who go through the planning process for neighborhood, comprehensive plan. So when you put that all together, it's the citizens, it's the community that actually moves this city forward, not one individual. And I just think that the names on the buildings should reflect that, should reflect the community at large. And again, what this ordinance would do also is just to ensure the tradition, continuity in names, and the identification of the city buildings.
Very well done, very well said.
Jim, what would be, can you name the city core facilities or ones that we have now?
Okay, let me pull that up real quick. So it would be City Hall, police stations, fire stations, the community and senior center, and Public Works, sorry.
Public Works, okay, thank you.
Not like the library?
The library is actually out of our control. That is in the control of the library board. So that would have to go through them.
Yeah, I would encourage you, Kim, to contact the library board. You have a preference, naming that one way or the other, please contact them.
Okay.
So why are these in our jurisdiction and the library isn't?
It is my understanding that is by state law that a library board is created, and the library board does all things based, with the library. So that would be something that we cannot.
I guess my comment is, where, I guess this seems somewhat out of the blue to me. I didn't necessarily know that we may or may not have an issue with naming of core facilities. I'm generally not in favor of creating limitations on problems that don't exist. That would be my just general comment.
Okay. Well, it basically came to us by a request at first. It was a request to name buildings. We do not have anything in the process in our ordinances to name buildings. So for me, I thought it was the opportunity to actually discuss this now to see if people actually wanted buildings named. A lot of the feedback that I received was that people did not want buildings named. And there was a couple that said they didn't like buildings being named, but if so, then it should be a process. So we never had the opportunity to actually, discuss this before, but due to the fact that it came to us, it was something that I felt needed to be clarified.
And was there ever any consideration in going the opposite direction and perhaps looking at this as a revenue stream to sell naming rights to things?
Some people have mentioned that, but I think it becomes problematic when government entities are selling naming rights to core facilities of the city.
May feel like you owe them afterwards.
Correct, especially when we get to things like police stations, fire stations, city hall. Those are core buildings that should not be put out there for sale, naming rights.
I appreciate the sentiment, Michael. You and I are always looking ways to get more revenue, but I just couldn't see naming the AT&T, City Hall,
It'd be more like the real-time utility engineers
right.
pavilion at McKee Farms Park, right?
I think for core facilities, it's not a bad idea. And it's, as long as it's, the things that you just said. I know there could be park shelters where a citizen donates $2 million to build a specific park shelter or something in honor of their family and those kinds of things. But so I don't have a real problem with this. I do think it's better to keep the name so everybody knows this is a police station, this is City Hall, this is, those in it, rather than if you just call it Joe Smith, building, then people don't even really know what it is. But do any of the adjacent communities in our area have an ordinance prohibiting name, or have any of them named any of their core facilities that you guys know of?
I do not know of any, but when I was doing research on this issue, there are other communities that, one specifically mentioned police stations, fire station, city hall, and also public works. Any other
Both
comments?
of them, we just don't feel it's appropriate. There's a cost function. We're not, as alders, Kim, we're in agreement with you, they say a park or a park shelter, or, we're not opposed to those type of things. But we think our city functions should stay named after Fitchburg and their usage.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed by Gometsky. Okay, moving on. Resolution R-37-22, accepting bike path improvements on Outlot 13 and 9 Springs. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll
So
move to approve resolution R-37-22.
Moved by Liddell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gometsky. Are you going to talk about this one too, Bill?
Sure. This is a path that was constructed by the developer as part of their subdivision improvement agreement. It goes from Lacey Road to Highway 14, making that connection through there along the creek. The subdivider has constructed that. They've met our specifications. They provided all the applicable lien waivers and approvals for that project. So we're asking for acceptance of those improvements for public improvements.
Okay. Any comments?
Bill, do we have, with our wayfaring signs and stuff, did we include any extra for future signs? Or that we put up in the city for new path like this?
No, but that's something that we're looking into as far as future developments and how we're going to connect those pathways to the existing ones. So that'll probably be a future project.
Okay, thank you.
Is this an improvement on a path that's already there, Bill, or is it actually going to be built now?
It's already been constructed,
Okay.
and we're accepting the improvements that have been made.
All right. Thanks.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Announcements. Next Board of Public Works meeting, Monday, March 21st, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll move adjournment.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved by Herb, seconded by Wilburn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Meeting is adjourned.